Okay. Do the video. All right, so we're doing a demo here of making lids, okay? So the first one I'm going to do is how to make an inset lid, one that sits on a ledge, okay? So what I've got here is about 2 pounds of clay. I'm going to put this down on here, pat it down to kind of get it centered to start out with.
Oh, I checked. I was like, is this?
And then I'm going to get it wet. Push it down first. And then bring it up to a kind of a tall cone shape, like that. Push it back down again. Do this a couple of times to get the clay centered. Now I'm going to use my thumb like this to just make a divot in the clay. That helps me find the center. And I switch to the left hand using my fingertips. My thumb is at the base, so I can sort of feel. I have the sponge in my other hand, so I can use the strength of both hands together, and I can also squeeze out a little water if it starts to get dry. I'm going to open up this into sort of a V shape, as you can see there. I'm going to leave a little bit of a bottom on this so that I can trim later. I want to trim the base. And I'm going to pull this out at the bottom. So now I have a nice wide base, but it's kind of humped up in the middle, inside. I'm going to go back to the center, push that down, try to even it out, and compress the bottom a bit, and flatten it out so that it's nice and flat and compressed. All right. You can get out any water that's in there. When I've pulled it out like that, I've created a sort of ring right in here that I'm getting under. That's what I'm going to pull up. So now I'm going to, again with my thumb, my inside finger is a little above my thumb on the outside, using my fingers and my thumb together with the sponge, and I'm going to watch the inside as I do my pull. I'm trying to keep it a cylinder shape by looking at the inside. If you notice the outside, it has a kind of a cone where the inside looks more straight. So when I'm pulling, I watch the inside. I'm going to wet the wall. I just want the water to go right on the wall, so I put my finger right on the wall like that and dribble the water down my finger. Let the outside a little bit. Since I can't get my thumb all the way at the base, I'm going to rest my thumb on my other hand. Push in a little bit at the bottom, out with my inside finger. I'm creating a hump. I'm getting underneath that, and I'm pulling that up. I'm regulating my pressure as I come up. At the base, I need to apply more pressure where it's thicker, and as it comes up and it's thinning, I reduce the pressure. Basically, I'm trying to keep a space between my fingers so that I'm applying as much pressure as I need to maintain that space. Go down here, get some of the water out that's inside. I've left some material at the top because I want an inset lid, so I need a little material up here to create my ledge. All right, so I've gotten 2 pulls here. I can do maybe one more pull, and with this pull I can start to shape a little bit. So push in at the base, out with my inside finger, get underneath that hump. This time I'm going to let it start to belly out a little bit as I'm coming up. Okay. So at this point, I'm not going to pull up any more clay. So I'm going to go back in and use my wooden knife. I should have cleaned it off a little bit, but I'm pretty sloppy, so I don't. I'm going to come down here and remove some of this excess at the bottom. I want to keep the blade of my tool against the body of the pot as I come down. And I'm going to undercut it here. I'll stop the wheel and remove this. And I can reuse this clay again. It's fine. Okay, so now maybe I want to come back here and maybe I want to make this be a little more rounded at this point. I'm going to come with my rib tool and I'm going to, I can flex that to create a profile, and I'm going to push against that rib with my fingers inside, and I kind of spread my fingers a bit so I'm not putting all my pressure just in one spot, kind of spreading it out. And I'm thinking about my profile of the pot. You know, how is it? Is it smooth? You know, is it a continuous line? Is it pleasing looking? That kind of thing. I'm gonna come again with one more pass to bring it out a little bit more. Okay, and bear in mind when I'm doing that, I'm also thinning it out because I'm stretching the clay. So be aware of that. So I'm going to get the water out of the inside. And now I'm just going to work on the outside. So I'm going to wet this up here a little bit. I'm going to neck it in a little bit by using my fingers situated in kind of 6 points, like that. Kind of neck in the top. Come back in here. When I neck it in, it actually thickens up a bit, so I can pull that a little bit or shape it from where I left off my curve. Okay. So at this point, I want to start to make my ledge here. So I'm going to grab it with my 2 fingers underneath the lip and compress it a little bit with my finger, my other finger, like that, to kind of flatten it out a bit. Thicken it up and flatten it out. Then I'm going to wet it again. Okay. And now I'm just going to use my finger. I use my thumb. I'm going to put my 2 fingers back on the sides again. This time I'm going to put my thumb right in the center of that thickness and start to, actually I need to wet it a little bit. If it's creating too much friction and you're pulling on it too much, it's going to start to wiggle. So you want to make sure it's flowing freely through your fingers. But I'm starting to push down in the center with my thumb nail and kind of split that lip. Again, it's a little dry again. Widening that up a bit. Okay, so now I have a nice ledge. Come in here and come back with my rib. Maybe I can do a little more finishing on the surface here. Maybe define that edge a little bit. Come and use the back end of my rib here, the pointy end. Okay, so I have like a decent enough form here. I can always play with it more. I can manipulate this more, do things if I like. Now I'm going to use my wire to undercut it. So before I do that, I can take the calipers here and I can measure this. So I want to measure this here with right there, like that. And set that to the side for a minute. I'm going to undercut this piece. And I'm just going to pick this off and put it to the side. When I pick it off, I'm going to grab it as low as I can at the base and move it over here. Okay. To make my lid, I'm going to clean this off first. To be fairly dry. I'm going to come with a smaller piece of clay. This is only maybe, this is maybe 3/4 of a pound. It's probably more than I really need, but push that down. Get this centered. Get my piece centered. Okay, there's a couple of different approaches I could do here. Got a little piece of sponge caught in that. Get that out. I'm gonna sort of eyeball my piece over there. Try to sort of see how wide it looks. And then start to get my size close. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to open this up and create a little ball here in the middle. And this is one way of doing it. I'm going to open the center here all the way down to the wheel head. Okay? And then I'm going to throw a little knob on there. Okay, like that. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually close this up. I just narrowing this in. It's a little off. I don't really care that much. I'm just going to squeeze that off like that. So now I have sort of the trapped air in here, and I can actually manipulate that little balloon a bit. Squeeze it in here, and it actually sort of helps support it because it's got that trapped air right now. So, all right. So I have a tallish shape here. Looks pretty good. I'm going to use my knife to take away some of this material. I think I have a little more than I need here. Clear away some of that. Okay. So now I'm going to check the size with my calipers. Okay, so it still needs to come out a bit more. So I can also think about whether, do I want this to sink down in? Do I want it to be more dome shaped? You know, how do I want it to actually sit in there? So I'm going to actually bring this up a little bit and then pull it out to the side. That way it'll wind up sitting down in the pot a little bit. Like that. Okay? I'm going to take this, I'll check my measurement again here. All right, so it's getting pretty close now. Okay, So I think it's actually pretty good there. I'm not gonna try to pull it out anymore. But what I can do is I can come back with my rib, say, and I could come in here with my rubber rib and kind of define that a bit if I want to. Also, this also kind of dries it. I can also use like the back of my wooden knife. I can sort of do this sort of thing. Maybe I want to define this a little bit. Like that. Okay. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to come underneath. It's going to be hard to see, but I'm just going to make a cut, a spot. It's not all the way down at the base because there's a lot of extra material there I don't really need to keep. So I've made a little mark under there. And what I'm going to do here is just wrap my wire right around that little mark, kind of cross it over, and then just pull it like that, okay? All right, so I'm gonna dry my hands off a bit, and I can actually pick it up, grab it by the knob like that, and I have my little opening there. I can test it here, see if it's fitting, okay, like that. And it's very close. So I can set that to the side. So you can see it's fitting, it's very close. A lot of times if I dry the surface out well and I dry the underneath side, I can actually just leave it on there to dry. I do that often, but it's less risky to put it to the side and let it dry separately. Okay. All right, so that's the inset lid. Can remove this. Now I'm going to do another one that's more for the overhanging type of lid. And I'll just do this base piece quickly. It's similar to that one, but I just don't have to leave a ledge on it. So I can I'm just going to go a little faster with this guy and not talk so much. It's very similar. Undercut this. Pick it off. Now this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw it upside down like a bowl. Eyeball it again. Check my measurement here. This looks pretty close. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to come in on the inside a bit, just to straighten that a little bit. Kind of like that pattern, so I'm going to leave that there. Check it one more time. All right, looks pretty close. So now I'm just going to cut this excess away. Okay. And then I'll let this dry. I'll turn it over, we'll do a little trimming on it, and it'll be ready to go. Okay? Okay. Thank you.